Have you ever felt like the moment you start struggling, certain people don't just walk away, they lean in to humiliate you. They mock you when you're vulnerable. They act like they're better than you. They whisper, joke, and smile while you're falling apart. And somehow, they always manage to make your hardest moments feel worse. But what if I told you, when someone treats your pain like a punchline, it's not carelessness, it's exposure. It's like giving someone a needle and thread to help stitch your torn shirt, only to realize they're pulling it tighter just to watch it rip again. They pretend to fix you, act like they're helping, but every move is meant to deepen the tear. That's what fake support looks like when you're struggling. It isn't there to heal, it's there to hide control behind kindness. And that's why you never trust people who smile while they're sewing you apart. Because while they're busy watching you fall, you have a choice. Keep trusting their presence or see the truth in their silence. And when you stop expecting support, that's when their loyalty fades. That's when you learn not everyone standing near you stands with you. So, how do you recognize the ones who secretly cheer for your downfall while pretending they care? Stick with me until the end, because the last part will change the way you see every insult disguised as just joking. Let's get started. Number 1, they disappear when you need them most. Let's talk about one of the clearest signs of someone's true character: people who vanish the moment life gets hard. When everything's going well, they're there, laughing, texting, making plans. But the moment you're struggling, when you really need support, they go silent. No check-ins, no calls, no "how are you holding up?" And when you do reach out, they're busy, going through their own stuff, or just conveniently unavailable. Here's the truth. When life gets hard, some people simply disappear. Not because they don't know what to say, but because your struggle makes them uncomfortable. They don't want to deal with your pain. They don't want the weight of empathy. And in those moments, they reveal something you might have missed before. Their presence was conditional. It was based on ease, not depth. This is where Stoic wisdom cuts through the noise. Seneca once said, "Misfortune is the test of friendship." It's easy to stand by someone when things are light, fun, and convenient. But hardship, that's where real loyalty is revealed. If someone disappears when you're down, they were never truly in your corner. They were around for the good times, but never equipped for the hard ones. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Rachel, was always the dependable one in her circle. The listener, the helper, the friend everyone leaned on. But when Rachel went through a rough breakup, she needed someone, anyone, to be there for her. And suddenly, the people she had always shown up for, nowhere to be found. They stopped calling, stopped responding. Even when she reached out, the responses were cold, delayed, or deflected. It stung more than the breakup itself, realizing that the people she thought cared were only there when it was easy to be. But here's the thing, Rachel didn't stay bitter. She got wiser. She learned to stop overextending for people who wouldn't lift a finger when it mattered. She found strength in solitude, clarity in silence. And eventually, she attracted people who didn't flinch when things got hard, people who stayed. So how do you deal with people who disappear when you're struggling? First, accept what their absence reveals. Don't beg, don't chase. Let silence show you who they really are. Second, remember that you're allowed to walk away from one-sided loyalty. You're not obligated to keep showing up for people who leave the moment you're not useful. And finally, choose depth over convenience. Surround yourself with those who don't vanish in the storm, but bring an umbrella. At the end of the day, adversity strips away the fake. When people disappear in your darkest hours, believe them the first time. Because true connection isn't proven in celebration, it's proven in crisis. And the ones who stay when it's hard, those are the people worth keeping. Number 2, they use your pain as gossip. Let's talk about one of the most hurtful betrayals. People who turn your struggles into stories for entertainment. When you're vulnerable, when you open up, you're not just sharing words. You're handing someone a piece of your heart, a moment of raw honesty. But instead of guarding that moment, some people do the exact opposite. They treat your pain like gossip. They replay your lowest points for others, not out of concern, but curiosity, drama, or worse, amusement. Here's the truth. Instead of protecting your privacy, they turn your struggles into conversation pieces. They'll say things like, "I'm just concerned," or "Don't worry, I only told one person," as if that makes it better. But what they've really done is traded your trust for attention. And once that line is crossed, you can't unhear what's been said behind your back. It stings, not just because they talked, but because you trusted them not to. This is where Stoic wisdom cuts deep. Marcus Aurelius once said, "What is shared in vulnerability must not be betrayed in amusement." When someone opens up, it's not a moment for entertainment, it's a responsibility. Trust is sacred, and once broken, it rarely returns the same. Someone who treats your pain like a story to pass around was never truly your friend. They were simply gathering material. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Tyler, was going through a tough time with his mental health. For the first time ever, he confided in someone at work, a colleague who seemed kind, understanding. He told her things he hadn't told anyone, but days later, he heard pieces of his story floating around the office, subtle mentions, strange glances, whispers, and that's when it hit him. She didn't keep it private, she used it for gossip. Tyler felt exposed, not just embarrassed, but betrayed. He didn't lose trust in just her. He started questioning if he could trust anyone again. So how do you handle people who use your pain as gossip? First, recognize the pattern. If someone shares other people's secrets with you, chances are they're doing the same with yours. Second, stop oversharing. Your vulnerability is a privilege, not a right. Only give it to people who've proven they can protect it. And third, distance yourself from those who feed off drama. The more they talk about others, the more likely they're talking about you too. At the end of the day, the people who deserve your story are the ones who'd guard it like it's their own. Because real friends don't use your pain for conversation. They use it as a reason to stand beside you. And anyone who laughs at your struggle was never worthy of hearing it in the first place. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 3, they offer help to control you. Let's talk about a dangerous type of support that doesn't come from kindness, but from control. Some people don't help you because they care. They help you because they want something in return, your obedience, your loyalty, your silence, or even your dependence. It looks like compassion on the outside, but underneath it's manipulation. It's not generosity, it's a transaction. Here's the truth, their support comes with strings attached. It feels warm at first. They show up when you're down, offer to fix things, lend you money, give you advice. But soon you start noticing the shift. They remind you of what they've done. They hold it over your head. They expect you to listen, agree, stay close, even when it makes you uncomfortable. Their help wasn't a gift, it was leverage. And the moment you stop complying, they pull it back. Or worse, they use it against you. This is where Stoic wisdom clears the fog. Epictetus once said, "Do not confuse manipulation with generosity." Real help expects nothing in return. It's quiet, selfless. It lifts you without leaving you feeling like you owe someone your voice. But when someone helps you just so they can own a piece of your life, that's not compassion, that's control dressed up as kindness. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Claire, was going through a rough patch financially. A longtime friend offered to help with rent and groceries. Claire was incredibly grateful. But not long after, things changed. That friend started using the favor to dictate how Claire should live, what decisions she should make, who she should spend time with, even how she posted on social media. When Claire pushed back, her friend snapped, saying things like, "After everything I've done for you." That's when Claire realized this wasn't support. It was a trap, and her so-called friend wasn't trying to lift her up. She was trying to own her. So how do you deal with people who offer help just to control you? First, pay attention to their energy. If they bring up their kindness every chance they get, that's not generosity, it's manipulation. Second, set boundaries. Even if you accept help, you don't owe them your identity. You're allowed to receive support without becoming someone's puppet. And finally, never be afraid to walk away. True support should empower you, not chain you. At the end of the day, someone who helps just to control you is not helping at all. They're feeding their ego, not your healing. So don't mistake leverage for love or control for care, because real compassion doesn't come with a leash, it comes with freedom. Number 4, they make you feel like a burden. Let's talk about one of the most painful reactions you can get when you're struggling. Someone who makes you feel like your honesty is an inconvenience. You open up, you share something heavy, and instead of comfort, compassion, or even basic human decency, you're met with eye rolls, long silences, changing the subject, or that look, you know the one, that says, "Ugh, here we go again." You weren't asking for a solution. You were asking to be heard, but somehow your vulnerability became too much for them to handle. Here's the truth. When someone treats your pain like a burden, what they're really showing you is their lack of emotional maturity. It's not that your feelings are too much, it's that they're too unequipped. They don't know how to sit with discomfort, so they distance themselves. Or worse, they punish your honesty by pulling away, shutting down, or making you feel guilty for being human. And the result? You shrink, you stop sharing, you carry it all alone, not because you want to, but because you've been trained to believe that your feelings are a problem. This is where Stoic wisdom brings clarity. Seneca once said, "To share pain is not weakness, it is trust. Do not offer it where it is not respected." Vulnerability is never the problem. In fact, it's one of the most powerful signs of trust. When you share your pain with someone, you're not seeking pity. You're offering them a window into your soul. But if they slam it shut or look away, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their limits. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Matt, was going through a dark time after losing someone close to him. He reached out to a friend, someone he'd known for years. When he started opening up, that friend responded with, "Man, not this again. You gotta toughen up." No empathy, no space, just shame disguised as tough love. Matt hung up feeling worse than before, not because he was emotional, but because the one person he thought would understand made him feel like a burden for feeling anything at all. That moment taught him something powerful. Protect your vulnerability like it's sacred, because it is. So how do you deal with people who make you feel like a burden? First, recognize the signs. If someone consistently makes you feel guilty for opening up, stop offering them your truth. Second, find safe spaces, people who lean in when things get heavy, not out. And third, never internalize their inability to support you. Your emotions are not too much, their reaction is too little. At the end of the day, your pain deserves presence, not punishment. And your voice deserves to be heard, not hushed. Share your truth, but only with those who know what a gift that really is. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a thank God and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 5. They suddenly act superior. Let's talk about a subtle but deeply demeaning shift in behavior. Someone who starts acting superior the moment you're struggling. When things are going well, they treat you like an equal. But the second life knocks you down, their tone changes. Their words feel heavier, colder, more condescending. Suddenly, they're not offering support, they're offering lectures. Their advice is laced with judgment. Their encouragement sounds more like criticism. And in the middle of your pain, you're left wondering, did they always see themselves as above me? Here's the truth. When someone speaks down to you during your lowest moments, it's not wisdom, it's ego. They use your vulnerability as an opportunity to elevate themselves. They position themselves as the strong one, the wise one, the one who would have handled it better. But this isn't compassion, it's control disguised as guidance. Instead of standing beside you, they stand over you. And in doing so, they turn your hardship into a platform for their own self-importance. This is where Stoic wisdom brings clarity. Marcus Aurelius once said, "True wisdom does not boast over the suffering of another." A wise person doesn't feel the need to flaunt their strength when someone else is hurting. They don't turn support into a performance. Real wisdom is quiet. It uplifts without belittling. It listens more than it speaks. And it never uses someone's pain as a mirror to admire itself. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Ryan, lost his job unexpectedly. He reached out to an old friend, someone he respected and trusted. But instead of encouragement, he was hit with a string of, "You should have seen this coming," and "That's why I always keep a backup plan." It wasn't support. It was a disguised power trip. The friend wasn't helping Ryan stand up. He was using Ryan's fall as a chance to preach. And that moment taught Ryan a hard truth. Some people can't wait to remind you of their stability when you lose yours. So how do you handle someone who acts superior when you're vulnerable? First, trust your gut. If their advice makes you feel smaller, not stronger, that's a red flag. Second, set emotional boundaries. You're allowed to protect your space from people who feed their ego at your expense. And third, remember this. Real strength doesn't need to step on someone to stand tall. At the end of the day, you deserve support that feels safe, not smug. Wisdom and ego may look similar on the surface, but one heals and the other humiliates. Choose the voices that lift you. Leave behind the ones that look down on you when you're already carrying the weight. Number 6. They remind you of your past failures. Let's talk about a behavior that feels small in the moment, but leaves a deep bruise over time. Someone who constantly reminds you of your past mistakes when you're already struggling. You come to them for support, for understanding, maybe just for a little space to breathe. But instead of lifting you up, they circle back to your lowest points. Well, this always happens to you. Remember when you messed up last time? I warned you before, didn't I? It's subtle, it's masked as concern, but the message underneath is clear. You don't get to move on because they've made it their job to keep you tied to your failures. Here's the truth. Instead of helping you rise, they reopen wounds you've already tried to heal. And whether they realize it or not, they're not helping. You're reliving pain just to be taught a lesson you already learned the hard way. People like this don't offer support. They offer shame wrapped in memory, and they pretend it's wisdom. But make no mistake, if someone constantly throws your past in your face, they're not trying to help you grow. They're trying to keep you small. This is where Stoic wisdom lights the path forward. Seneca once said, "The past is no longer yours to fix. Only fools live by its chains." In other words, what's done is done. Growth doesn't come from being punished repeatedly for the same mistake. It comes from learning, adapting, and moving forward. People who constantly drag you back to your past aren't pointing out your flaws to help. They're anchoring you in shame because they fear who you might become without it. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Nicole, was working hard to rebuild her life after filing for bankruptcy years earlier. She'd started a new job, was managing her finances responsibly, and had finally begun to feel proud of her progress. But one friend, someone she'd known for years, never missed a chance to bring up her past. Whenever Nicole mentioned a financial decision, this friend would say things like, "Just don't go bankrupt again," followed by a half laugh. It wasn't just unkind, it was damaging. Nicole realized she was doing everything to move forward, while her friend was stuck in a version of her that no longer existed. And worse, was trying to keep her there. So how do you handle people like this? First, understand that constant reminders of your past are not love, they're control. Second, protect your growth. You have every right to outgrow the person you used to be. And third, draw a line. If someone insists on tying you to your old mistakes, it's okay to outgrow them too. At the end of the day, your past is not your prison. It's your proof. You made it through. You learned. You're healing. And anyone who tries to chain you to your lowest moment doesn't deserve a seat at your highest one. Keep rising and leave the anchors behind. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 7. They only show up when you're winning. Let's talk about one of the most disappointing realizations, someone who only reappears in your life when things are going well. When you're hurting, they're nowhere to be found. No messages, no check-ins, silence. But the moment life starts to look good again, when the dust settles, when you start smiling, when people start praising you, they pop back up. Suddenly, they're friendly again, interested, present. But it doesn't take long to see through it. They weren't there for you. They were just waiting for your spotlight to turn back on. Here's the truth. They reappear only when things are good again, proving they were never there for you, only for your light. They don't want to sit beside you in the dark. They just want to be seen with you when you shine. These are not the people who hold you through the storm. These are the people who show up after the rainbow, smiling, clapping, pretending they never left. They're not there to support your journey. They're there to benefit from your glow. This is where Stoic wisdom cuts straight through the noise. Epictetus once said, "The friend of fortune is no friend at all." Anyone can stand next to you when you're winning, but someone who's only around for the celebrations and never for the setbacks is not a friend. They're a fan of your success, not a supporter of your soul. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him James, lost his job during a rough economic downturn. For months, he struggled, not just financially, but emotionally. The people he used to hang out with stopped calling. Even his closest friend, someone he considered family, slowly faded. But when James landed a new position at a top firm, one that came with recognition and a much better salary, guess who texted him out of the blue? That friend. No apology, no acknowledgement of the silence, just a casual, "Heard you're doing big things now, let's catch up." But James didn't need to catch up. That message told him everything he needed to know. So, how do you deal with people who only show up when you're winning? First, don't confuse reappearance with loyalty. If someone vanished when you were down, they don't deserve front row seats when you rise. Second, protect your space. Your success is sacred. It should be shared with people who stood with you when there was nothing to celebrate. And third, remember this: presence during your hard times is the real test. At the end of the day, anyone can clap for you when you're on top. But the ones who sat with you when you had nothing, that's who truly belongs in your light. Don't let people borrow your joy if they couldn't handle your pain. Choose substance over show, and never forget who stayed when it mattered most. If you believe this video can help others, give it a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content coming your way. Share your thoughts in the comments. I will definitely reply.